Hey, look at that! The really big number that the world is counting in unison while trying not to not kill each other became a slightly bigger number. It's been a while since that happened, and since then there's been a lot of really interesting stuff to talk about. And that's cool, but I really just want to talk about some manga instead. So please sit back and watch as I show you a backwards moving clock in order to trick you into thinking that we're going back in time. Wow, look at that. That's crazy. Starting off the year, we have a new fantasy series from Big Comic Spirits. It's Re-Servant. Le Servant? Le Servant? Requiem of the Rose King comes to an end, a series that by popular demand gave us an adaptation of Shakespeare's 15th most popular play, most commonly known as the one where that guy really wants a horse. A common concern of this manga was whether or not the ending would stay faithful to the source material. However, we've yet to track down anyone who's actually seen the play and can confirm it for us. Love and Lies ends without ever answering its biggest mystery of why you're still reading this garbage. With the end of Fire Force and seeing the barrage of new bangers Weekly Shonen Jump has been putting out lately, Shonen Magazine is looking for new blood. And from the ashes comes Ke Urana with Gatjakta. I was kinda down on this series in the beginning, but when I got to the part where a guy was fighting off a giant monster using a superpowered umbrella, I was like, it's gonna be a good manga. Seeing this, Shonen Jump decides to retaliate in full force and release its own next mega hit in Earthchild. You're doing great, guys. Akane Banashi is pretty good though. Speaking of garbage, the filthy used Cutest ends its serialization after its 5th volume, and I'm just mentioning this because there are a lot of manga from this year that did not make it to 5 volumes, and I just think it's good for us to keep in mind going forward that, this did. Meanwhile, Rent-A-Girlfriend is so busy making fashion statements, as there is apparently never a bad time to wear a beret, that it kinda forgot to be a good manga. Wow, this sucks, says everyone. This might be the worst manga ever. And the author got so mad that he decides to make the worst manga ever just to prove them wrong. It's kinda like quintessential quintuplets if you took out all the parts that weren't incest and replaced them with incest. And let's run it in Young Animal, as they've really been needing something to fill the void that Berserk left last year. Seeing what has become of his legacy, Ken Nakamatsu, the progenitor of trashy harem manga, puts down his pen after writing the story of Negima for 19 years and 66 volumes, gets up from his desk and says, alright, time to become the Prime Minister. Next up, a personal favorite of mine, Dead Demons. Destruction reaches its conclusion after 12 volumes, while everyone is still busy trying to figure out how to spell its name. Love's in Sight, a light-hearted romance between a blind girl and a notorious delinquent, comes to an end while someone over at Viz Media are having a genuine discussion about whether or not calling it Love is Blind would be too on the nose. Shonen Jump announces that Boichi will once again go back to making great manga that no one actually reads now that Dr. Stone is over. And the Among Us manga manages to garner a collected giggle from the internet lasting an entire 5 seconds before they find something else to do. From the creator of Aria the Masterpiece comes Colore Creare, an amazing looking manga that no one wants to talk about, even though it does feature a cat. All hope is not lost though, as it could still win a Game Award. Takobi's Original Sin makes a statement for the success and potential of shorter, tightly told manga stories, especially those that come with more edge than a Linkin fucking Park album. After hearing a rumor of a single remaining Satch Bell fan having been spotted in the wild, Makoto Raikou starts serializing Satch Bell 2, 15 years after the original series ended. Hey, why do Japanese men smoke so much? Don't know, says the next manga awards, giving first place to a manga about smoking in the back of the convenience store with his super hot goth girlfriend. It's a mystery. Spring rolls in, and Ichigo Takano sees this as a good time to release the final volume of Orange, and Golden Kamuy gives one last parting gift as it's finally revealed what we've all been wanting to know since the series first started. Who gets the treasure? The character's dick size. Genius for Jimbo is back at it again with Sayonara Eri, adding to his growing library of profound one-shots alongside Look Back in that video where he tries to levitate. Man, I sure hope the guy I'm interested in is a guy, says the protagonist of the guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all, accidentally using up the entire 4 pages of this week's chapter. Plunderer, a manga whose mere existence makes it liable to sexual harassment charges, is finally gone, and when Blend S finishes up the S section of the dictionary, Shonen Jump remembers that I haven't cancelled anything in a while, and so comes the end of Ayashimon, a manga that had me initially intrigued but then kind of made me fall asleep midway through, like a bar conversation with Bill Cosby. And stepping up to replace Ayashimon, we have a manga that looked at all the smartphone isekai out there and asked itself, what if we had smartphones in the real world? And another manga that looked at Dandadan and asked itself, what if Dandadan was bad? The My Hero Academia spin-off featuring 11-year-old Ash Ketchum and Pikachu is ending, while the Duke of Death and his maid is getting tired of anime girls bullying the protagonist without the imminent threat of a painful death. Now this is a girl who lives life on the edge, like a house on a cliff side. Land of the Lustrous announces its long-awaited comeback, only to have its thunderstolen 5 days later by a fucking tree, and if that wasn't enough, Berserk, the king itself, though wearing an unmistakably different gown after Miura's passing, is finally back on the throne right where it belongs, in the pages right between Rent a Domestic Girlfriend and I'm Not a Lolicon. Wow, look at all these behemoths of the medium suddenly making a comeback. Anyway, how are Nana fans doing?
I'm tired of suffering. I'm tired of suffering.
As we move towards summer, it's time for Shonen Jump to cancel a pretty bad comedy manga and replace it with a pretty good comedy manga. It's Brewery Dragon, a testament to how good things never last. Just like the great Greek plays of old, Sensei Can't Teach Me About Love is set to end either with a graduation or an arrest warrant. My Love Mix-Up is getting dizzy after cutely running around in circles for 3 years, so Kanan-sama decides to mix things up instead by telling a story of a guy doing the bullying in a relationship, which, in today's climate, is a nice little palate cleanser. Kinda like drinking hand sanitizer. Fujimoto teams up with one of his former assistants in an attempt to promote his music career in Just Listen to the Song. I'd expect nothing less from genius Fujimbo himself. Jump SQ wants to remind everyone that it's still relevant and starts serializing Gokurakugai. It's kind of like Ayashimon, except it's not cancelled yet. Speaking of not cancelled, you know what's not cancelled from the Red Fog? Square Enix does a little manga fuck up with one of the dumbest subscription models I've ever seen in my life, and Chainsaw Man without Chainsaw Man proves to be just as Chainsaw Man as the part of Chainsaw Man that had Chainsaw Man in it. I wonder what else Shonen Jump is up to.
We built this. This is my axe!
15-year winner of the "Hey, do you care about this thing? No? Well, now you do" award, Chihaya Furu, comes to an end with me still not 100% sure whether the game that I'm playing for 50 volumes is actually a real thing or if they just made stuff up as they went. One Piece closes the book on its 4-year-long Wano arc with a chapter titled The End, only for the next chapter to be titled Just Kidding. Hey, it's getting a little cramped in here. I think I'm out, says B Blues, not quite understanding when or why blue-collar football manga became an oversaturated genre. If you're a fan of Your Lie in April, you'll be happy to hear that At White Game is a new manga just like Your Lie in April in that it's made by the same person and literally nothing else. Tokyo Demon Bride story enters the fray just in time for Shonen Jump to kill Earthchild and holy shit, what was that? Oh, that was a Ginkan Luna speeding through 3 whole story arcs in a single chapter. A bold strategy to be sure. Let's see if it pays off. There goes the excessively abusive and slightly gay relationships of Asobi Asabase, not to be confused with the slightly abusive and excessively gay relationships of Cantify the Lonely Girl. Ace of the Diamonds, a manga about a made-up sport called baseball, comes to an end after an incredible total of 81 volumes. Shonen Jump is so impressed by this that they almost forget to cancel Aliens Area and Super Smartphone. Aka Akasaka puts out the final chapter of Kaguya-sama Love is War, and with it he announces that he will step back as an artist and from now on work as a writer only, as this will allow him to focus more on the thing that he's truly passionate about, VTubers and Apex Legends. Meanwhile, Ken Wakui walks by a local middle school and, upon realizing that none of the students look like fully grown muscular giraffes riding around on motorcycles, decides to end Tokyo Revengers out of sheer disappointment. The author of Megalo Box is getting really excited about crossword puzzles, while we also have a brand new manga from the author of Lucky Star is back for some reason, and while the co-creator of Sonic the Hedgehog cannot stop doing crimes, the furry community takes one final farewell with Senko-san. Hey, my manga is ending, says the author of Interviews with Monster Girls in an interview about interviews with Monster Girls. And finally, to get everyone in the holiday spirit, is the last chapter of One Room of Happiness, a manga about a stalker kidnapping a 14-year-old girl, having her promise to marry him as long as he takes her away from her abusive parents. No, you see, it's like, wholesome. Stockholm Syndrome, I say, construct my suspension of disbelief like it was the Golden Gate fucking bridge. And that's it. It's a new year. Anything can happen. I mean, we live in a world where Final Fantasy hentai and War Thunder are both rising in the ranks of risks to national security, so I don't personally see why Kingdom shouldn't be able to get an English release. Who knows, maybe this year Evangard will upload more than once every few months. We can dream big if we want to. Anyway, I'm going back to my hole now. See you next year.